Welcome to the By Words Show. I'm your host, Hannah Hughes. By Words is all about equipping women for purposeful living by starting conversations, celebrating stories, and inspiring faith. In a world that applauds the hustle, I'm here to help you break free from the lies and come back to what really matters. It's time to get real, get rooted in truth, and come alive in relationship with Jesus so you can show up to each day with intention and confidence no matter where you're at in your story. Here we believe that embracing our stories brings hope, healing, and purpose to the process, and sharing our stories helps others do the same. Whether you're looking for a midweek faith refresh, practical tools for pursuing your dreams, or just need some good old-fashioned girl talk, you're in the right place. Grab your latte and let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the By Words Show. Today is the day. So glad you're here. Today we have a special guest, which is Christopher, my husband. We are here for our annual anniversary podcast where we just talk about what we've been learning in marriage. And I think we've done these almost every year since the podcast started. But we're just going to hang out, chat for a little bit. Our kids are in bed, so I don't know, one of them or both of them may wake up and come in here. We're just going to wing it and see how it goes.
Yeah.
But Christopher, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. After a very long, exhausting day of working and being with the children, and I just appreciate you a lot. Yeah, the season's been kind of crazy, but also really good because we're very happy to be in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
So today, I have a few questions for you, Christopher.
Bring it on.
The first one, first of all, let me just say, our anniversary is October 1st. So by the time this episode is out, it will have been our 7-year anniversary, and we are celebrating 7 years of marriage, which is a miracle.
Yeah.
We made it 7 years, which is a pretty big deal. So I am going to ask Christopher some questions about our marriage, our married life. So the first question is, what is one of your favorite memories from our 7 years of marriage?
Getting to go to New Zealand was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
That was a bucket list item for me for such a long time. It's going to be really hard to beat that.
Yeah. That's so true.
Mm-hmm.
I think traveling is definitely one of mine as well. I think it's just so cool that we've been able to travel so much. I was telling someone recently, like, moving to Colorado, I definitely feel like we're going to be settled for a while. We may not be able to go on as many big trips or do as many big, like, international things, but I'm so glad we had that season, like, when our kids were little, because Jude will start school next year. He'll be in kindergarten, so he'll be in school 5 days a week, and life is just going to look different. But I agree. I'm very happy that we've been able to travel so much, especially with the kids. I think that's been really fun. And then I'm trying to think some other memorable things. I love that we have gone to do music together and go to so many concerts, and I don't know, we've just done a lot of cool stuff in our 7 years of marriage. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Well, there's Judah.
Jude is yelling at Della, telling her to go to sleep.
Oh boy, the joys of children sharing a room is so fun. Okay, next one is, what do you think are some of the hardest things that we've faced in our 7 years of marriage? I know there's a lot.
Yeah.
What for you has been a challenging thing?
I think just letting each other have time without feeling guilty that, that it's your turn to have time, basically.
A brief intermission. Welcome back. Okay, so you were saying that one of the hardest things for you has been finding time for each other.
No. It's been, or maybe that's what you mean. We're just saying it different ways. Like letting you have time to rest.
Yeah.
And then not feeling guilty when it's my time to rest.
Yeah. That has been really hard. Actually, somebody did ask how we balance both of us working and also, like, being in Colorado. We don't have childcare here, so we really depend on the 3 days that Jude is at preschool. And when Christopher's gone, it's usually all day for weddings, so he has really long days. And then I am now working outside the home, so those are usually long-ish days, not like as intense and full on. I'm still getting home like before dinner and all that, but it definitely has been tricky figuring out how to get everything done that needs to get done, and also like prioritizing rest, each of us being able to prioritize rest. And then also now we're trying to find community. Like finding time for that as well, like getting plugged into church, figuring out like how we can prioritize the things that matter while also not going crazy. That's really difficult, but I feel like we have just learned to be honest about like when we need a break,
Mm.
and we do the best that we can like with our schedules to support each other. But I do think that is one of the hardest things right now, just the season that we're in is just we've got we're just trying to figure out finances and work life balance and having two kids and being in a new state and new community with new people and just everything is new. So
Mhm.
giving everybody a lot of grace and support where it is needed. I feel like, yeah, that's tricky to figure out.
Yeah.
What do you think has been the most helpful thing for you in that?
In getting rest,
And like just supporting each other in this busy season of like so many transitions.
just communicating about it. I think that's the most helpful thing. I think that's the smartest thing.
Yeah. What do you think is one of the things that I do that makes you feel the most love?
Like I think it was yesterday when you took the kids and you're like, all right, I'm just gonna give you time to yourself. And I could have gotten some work done and I did nothing. I did absolutely nothing because I realized I think I went to go change and I realized I was like, I don't know why I feel like I have to completely fill my schedule all the time. So I just
Mhm.
sat on the couch and did nothing for like 2 hours. And then you came back and I was like, well, I feel good now.
Good.
So
Yeah. I think my answer would be the same when you're like, let me just give you some time.
yeah.
Because y'all who are listening and have little kids, you know, like this is just a full on season. Always somebody needs something from you. And when both parents are also working, that is challenging.
Hmm.
But yeah, I feel like that's been one of the most helpful things for me is even though we both have things to get done, as much as we're able, like giving each other the support that we need, like whatever that looks like, if it means like you having some time to yourself to be able to get your editing done, or whenever you let me have some time to myself to, you know, like edit my podcast or get content done, or even going to work, like the fact that you're able to stay with the kids and things like that, I
Hmm.
feel like have just been really helpful. And honestly, I feel like we're in a season where we kind of have no other choice.
Yeah, we really don't.
But it's like you can either and this is something I feel like has been hard for me in the past personally. Like I am not so great when it comes to stress or conflict. Like I feel like in the past and even still sometimes I struggle with taking it out on you or taking it out on the kids. Like it's so easy for me to feel like I'm fighting you
Hmm.
instead of us fighting together for whatever thing we're trying to accomplish. So I feel like that's been a big shift for me is like really trying to remember we're in this together. We're on a team. We have to support each other if we both want to succeed and be happy and feel like our needs are met. And communication definitely is a huge, huge piece of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
My next question for you, Christopher, is what is something, well, kind of along the same lines, what's something that's been helpful to you in marriage or something that you've learned that you would want to pass on to other couples?
I don't know. I'll let you go first on this one. Let me think about it.
Okay. Um, I think kind of, yeah, kind of along the same lines of what I just said is just remembering we're in this together. It's very easy for me personally, like just my personality, whenever things get hard or if I get stressed, I just really turn inward and I isolate myself and I just want to be alone. I don't want to engage with people. And it's really easy for me to just get frustrated about every little thing. And then it just like makes the marriage relationship tense, if that makes sense, I guess. I don't know. Like for me, I just can so easily get overwhelmed that everything starts to irritate me and make me feel overwhelmed and emotional. And I think back to like the beginning of our marriage, the first year of our marriage was rough.
Rough.
Honestly, most of our marriage until maybe this last year has been really rough.
I'd say the last 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, I would say it has been really hard. And I think a lot of it for me in the beginning was learning how to communicate instead of just like thinking that you were the enemy. And I remember, I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast before, but we went on our honeymoon and then we came back and moved into the barn dominium where we were staying. And
Which is on her parents' property.
yes,
It's like right across the street.
yes. So before we got married, I was living with my parents and all my stuff was in my room at my parents' house. So I had gone and done something like gone out with a friend or something. And when I came home, Christopher had moved everything that was in my room at my parents' house into like our extra room in the barn house, which was going to be our house now. And it was a really nice gesture that he was trying to do to be helpful. But to me, it created so much stress and I was so upset about it. I was so angry. And it was like, it was very dramatic. I was very, very upset. But because for me, I wanted to be able to go through everything as I was moving it over instead of just now having this whole other room that I had to sort through again and then reorganize in our new house. And I just did not communicate that well. And like, I didn't understand his point of view. Like, he was just trying to be helpful. Like, he was just trying to get that done so that I didn't have to move all the stuff. But to me, it was like, I wanted to have the time to go through all of that stuff and move over what I wanted to, like at my own pace and get things settled because clutter just really stresses me out. So, anyway, I feel like I've come a long way since then and we understand each other a little better now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like just assuming the best. Like there are so many times where Christopher has to say, don't make assumptions. We have to like ask each other where we're coming from sometimes because it's so easy to just think, why would you do that? Like just assuming that you had ill intentions or like you didn't understand what I wanted and stuff like that. So instead of assuming the worst, just assuming the best. Like maybe he was trying to be helpful because he was, and I just didn't perceive it that way. And it ended up being this huge thing that could have been avoided.
Yeah. So two things real quick to piggyback off that. One of them, when right after we got married, I asked her if she wanted to move her stuff over, and she said something along the lines of like, "Yeah, I really want to move my stuff over, but I like typical guy like just that." The rest of what she was saying, just I didn't hear at all. All I heard was her saying, "Yeah, I really want to move that stuff," and so I immediately started like making a plan in my head about how I was going to make it happen, and then yeah, I guess the rest of the sentence was like, "But I want to be able to go through everything," and I didn't hear that part. Second thing, we're not terrible interior designers. That is just covering a smoke alarm. And I just wanted to keep my hat out of the range of the children. So
That's
I
so
just feel like I
funny.
should address that.
If you're not watching the video, basically what he's referring to is this hat that's very high up on our wall.
It's like 7 feet up. There's no reason for
And
it to be
it's,
up
yeah,
there.
it's covering a smoke alarm and it looks so out of place on the wall.
It does.
Also, you're sitting,
Yeah, I'm trying
it's
to
kind of
cover it.
frustrating me.
I'm trying to cover
But
it.
there's this what is that called? Electric panel?
It's yeah, like where the
Fuse box?
breakers are and
Breaker
everything.
box? Yeah. When I record, I have like one wall where I can record that has the natural sunlight, which we don't even have right now because it's nighttime.
Yeah.
And then I usually sit right in front of that thing, so it's not there.
Yeah,
So
I'm trying to cover
it. It's okay. If you're not watching the video, disregard all of this. But if you
Yeah.
are watching the video, welcome to our life.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have anything to add? Like anything that you've learned that you feel is valuable advice that you'd want to pass on, or something that you even learned from someone else?
I think this like the last 6-ish months of our marriage have been a lot of fun, and I think it's because we just realized like not everything needs to be super serious. So we've just been laughing a lot more about really dumb things that don't make sense, or things that we just don't get offended as easily anymore whenever we're kind of joking about each other and to each other, and I think that has helped quite a bit this year too.
That's such a good point. I do think that helps a lot because I think that was one of my biggest issues. Like personally, one of my own things that I needed to work on is I took everything so personally and I had to learn to not get offended
Yeah,
and not be so sensitive about certain things. And I agree. I do think before we moved, like the past year, what?
I was thinking about some things that I've said recently where you're like, you can't say that.
What? Okay.
I'm not repeating it because
Now everyone's going to want to know.
that's okay. They can wonder.
I'm wondering.
We're just very different. We have very different sense of humor.
We do. Which is really funny because we have like we think most of the same things are funny, but then also like you have some things where I'm like, what in the world? And then vice versa. But anyway, I don't even remember what I was gonna say. Oh, not taking things personally.
Yeah.
I do think and having more fun. The year leading up to us moving, one of our goals, like it became a non-negotiable, is like we are gonna have a date night or intentional time at least once a month. And I have said that before, like I've shared that. But I do think that made a huge difference for us because when you have little kids, when you're both working, or when schedules are crazy, or there's just a lot happening in life. Like I was pregnant at the time and we were planning on moving and things like that. I feel like if we didn't have that intentional connection time, we would not be in as good of a place as we are currently.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Especially because a lot of last year, I was working 3 jobs, and I think I was averaging like maybe 1 day off a month.
Yeah. Not good.
Yeah, not fun. And that was just if something happened to fall through. So,
Right.
um, yeah, I think actually having to set aside that time, like having to set aside that time, not necessarily getting to, but like being made to set that time aside was really important.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those things too where at first it may feel like an obligation because
Mhm.
like if you're used to being busy, it's like we could be doing other stuff with this time. Like it's fine. It's easy to let that quality time get pushed to the back burner. But it really did make such a huge difference because I feel like the more intentional time we spent together, the more we remembered like, oh, like we really have fun together
Mhm.
and you want to spend more time together. Sorry if that sounds like really pathetic to people who are listening, but it wasn't because we didn't want to. It was like just life was so crazy.
Yeah.
And so again, it was like the minimum date one per month. And then of course we would have like little pockets of time throughout. If we had like a free day, we would do something as a family or go get coffee when Jude was in school or whatever. But
Or like watch Only Murders in the Building
yes,
together in the evening. Or
yeah, yeah. It makes such a huge difference just to have those things that you do together, whether it's watching a show or going to get coffee or just dedicated time throughout the day where you're connecting.
yeah.
Because otherwise, I feel like life just happens and then you don't even realize you're growing apart. But that has really helped. And I feel like that put us in such a good position for moving here
Mhm.
where we don't have childcare and we haven't really been able to go on dates. But we've just, yeah, been able to have more fun. And it's so funny now, too, y'all, because Jude is about to be 5. And this kid is hilarious. Like the stuff that he says, like, I feel like every time we drive somewhere all together in the car as a family, like we're just all cracking up always. And it's so fun. Like I feel like the stage we're at, just you and I being able to have more fun together again, and then also with Jude and Della's personality coming out, it's gotten to be very fun and sweet. I like this season that we're in.
Yeah. Quick example of Jude's just random humor and wit. The other day, one of our neighbors was walking out of like the main office of the apartment complex, and he was wearing a suit because he's a lawyer, he's an attorney, and so I like whistle at him, you know. I was like woo woo, and Jude is standing right there with me, and he goes, "Oh yeah, that's what I like to see." It's like, where did you hear
I
that?
don't,
What?
it's so funny the stuff this kid comes up with. I was telling somebody a quote that he said the other day, and they were like, "How is he so funny? Like you just got to remember all this stuff." And I was like, "We literally keep a list in my phone of quotes that Jude says because he's so just out of nowhere funny and quick-witted, and the stuff he
Mhm.
comes up with, like sometimes he doesn't even realize he's being funny. It's just like he's just saying stuff and it's it's hilarious. So anyway, we've had a good time lately.
Yeah.
um yeah, it's been really good. Just I feel like just working together as much as we can to figure out new routines and supporting each other and supporting our kids and just as the best that we can with what we have in this season has been really helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's see here. Next question. Okay, I thought this would be an interesting question, which also, sorry, my chair is very squeaky. So if you're really annoyed by that, as I am, sorry. Anyway, next question is if you could go back to our first year of marriage
Mhm.
and tell our baby selves something, what would it be?
Before we're married or after we're married?
Like during our first year of marriage
Okay.
or around that time, like going back. If you knew something you knew now, what would you want to tell us?
I don't know. See, you have these questions on your phone already.
Sorry, I should have prepared you.
Yeah. So I'm not great with on the spot questions. You go first. Let me think about it.
I haven't prepared either. I literally was
Oh,
just thinking
cool.
about these after work today. I was like, huh, I should prepare something.
Yeah.
And that was as far as I got.
I would say pretty much just what I just said, which is like don't take things too seriously. Try not to get too offended. Remember you are on the same team as much as you might not want to be sometimes. So just kind of laugh about the dumb things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good. I think that would have saved us a lot of grief through the years.
Oh, I'm sure people told us that. I can guarantee you at least 5 people told us that. They were like, "That's what you guys are fighting about," and I'll be like, "Yeah, but she's being dumb about it." And So I think it's just finally clicked for us.
Yeah, that is really true. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, and hopefully you're okay with me saying it. It's nothing like crazy, but
Well, here we go.
it's so so we a couple years ago we had these mentors who were
This is exactly what I was thinking of.
these mentors who were helping us like in marriage. Like we would meet with them regularly and talk through just our marriage and trying to get a healthier marriage because like I said, we've been through some rough times. And so we would meet with them together, like all together, all of us as couples. And then I would meet with the wife and Christopher would meet with the husband. And I remember one time Christopher came home from meeting with the husband and I was like, how'd it go? And he was like, well, I was telling him about some of the stuff we went through. And he said, how are you guys still married?
Yeah.
And yeah.
He's like, how are y'all still together?
Yep.
And I just remember, I don't know if it was that same meeting or if it was a different meeting with that guy, but he was like, he said something along the lines of like, none of your guys' problems are that big. He's like, you guys just don't know how to talk to each other.
Yep.
So, I was
Yep.
like, yeah, probably. That sounds about right.
Yeah. And it's so crazy to me too that sometimes the smallest things, if you don't deal with them, they end up just like kind of like a snowball effect thing. And then it does become this big deal thing where you've like just disconnected and it feels so hard to get connected again because you've just let so many little things pile up without addressing them. At least that's how it felt for me. I was like, yeah, like we don't have any issues that are crazy. Like we didn't go through anything that was like really horrible to get through, you know, like, yeah, we've gone through loss and we've gone through a lot of stuff together. But like when it came to our specifically marriage problems and the challenges we faced, I feel like a lot of it was just stuff
Just
we could have just
communication.
talked
Yeah.
about, you know? So yeah, that's really good. I
Yeah.
wish that I would have known that 7 years ago, but I'm glad that we know it now, 7 years in. I feel like, you know, we're on the right track
Yeah.
for the next 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're getting there.
Yeah. I think if I were to tell us anything, I would just say, don't give up when it gets hard. Because I
Yeah.
feel like for me, there were so many times where I was like, is it even worth it to keep pushing through this? Because it was like, it would be so frustrating sometimes when we were working on communication. And I would just be like, this is so frustrating. I just don't even want to try anymore. It's so much easier if we just do our own thing and we don't care, you know? But then it's like, well, what kind of marriage is that? Is that really what you want? Like, no.
Yeah. They're just roommates.
Yeah, exactly. And that just sucks. No one wants that. And it may feel easier for a time, but at the end of the day, it's like, what a waste of what could have just been, you know, you push through the communication, you have the hard moments, there's going to be hard moments. But when you're willing to just stick it out together, like we have, thankfully, like you said, in these past few years, like we really have gotten to the point where we've just had the hard conversations and we've been there with each other through uncomfortable stuff. And we've just been willing to sit down or just even, you know, whenever we can, like throughout the process, throughout day to day life, like just really being in it together. And that has made such a huge difference, which is literally so simple. It's like, oh, yeah, of course, duh,
Yeah.
we should do that. But again, it is life just starts to happen and you can forget about those simple foundational things, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's all the questions that I had written down, except this one, which we don't have to do. But when I asked people if they had questions for us, someone said, I heard you guys are singers. Let's hear a duet.
Yeah, maybe we can record that a different day. Yeah, we should do more stuff like that. Hannah and I used to do. We used to play music together. We used to sing at weddings together. We were actual wedding singers.
Yeah.
We tried out for The Voice. So we were scouted by The Voice, and I think it's like a 5-step interview process. And we got to
that
step
was
4.
wild.
Yeah,
I don't know if I ever really shared about that because it was such a weird thing.
it was weird,
It
but it
was
was also
during
just
COVID.
disappointing. I don't think we would
Yeah.
really wanted to address it. At that point.
Yeah, I know. It was like I don't think either of us were disappointed that we didn't make it to the next round.
No, I think part of me was like, because it's like a 4-step interview or a 5-step interview process.
Yeah.
Before you make it to blind auditions, and I think we got to step 4, and they're like, "Yeah, I think we're gonna go."
Yeah.
And then they reached out the next year and tried again. And they're like, "Yeah, we don't."
Yeah. So we were kind of like, oh well, it's okay. We don't feel disappointed about that.
Yeah.
But it is something that we are both still very passionate about. Maybe I can insert a little clip here at the end of one of our songs that is on the internet somewhere.
Or maybe you can just come back next week and we'll record one by then.
Ooh, or we could record something separately and just put it on Instagram, like as a reel or something.
Record something separately.
Like separately from this right now that we're recording.
I was like, I guess that kind of defeats the purpose.
That whole communication thing. Yeah. But
you
yeah.
guys see what I mean. She just talks different.
Oh, I talk different.
Yeah.
Literally, what does that mean?
They get it. They know.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is going to be news to me if people are listening to my podcast. They've been listening to me for the past 3 years and they're like, finally, someone gets it. She talks different. Nothing she says makes sense.
I'm with them.
Whatever. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, any last words?
No. Let's go to bed.
Deal. All right. Love you guys. Hope you have a great rest of your day wherever you're listening to this. And happy anniversary to us. Cheers. We don't have any drinks. High five. Okay, bye. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to tune in to another episode of the Byword Show. I love having you here, and your support truly means the world to me. If you enjoyed this episode, would you leave a quick review? It really helps our community grow and reach more women. If you want more, you can shop my books, Waking Up, Living Open, and Love Is on Amazon, and be sure to sign up for my email list so you always get the latest news. I can't wait to chat again soon, but in the meantime, be sure to come hang out with me on social media, and remember, I'm cheering you on.